Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic episode of Beyond the Device. We have Identity Automation on the line with us today, a very exciting episode for you guys, talking about ways that we are empowering IT and instruction through unification. What does that mean? We're going to find out in just a minute. We are joined with the lovely Mack Bickle, Carter Dunbar, and first time on the episode, Jamie Donally. Thank you so much for joining us today. She is smarter than common sense, so we're going to start with her introduction first. Jamie, over to you. Can you tell us who you are, give us a little background, then we'll head over to Mack and then Carter and kick it off.
Yes, I'm Jamie Donally. I'm joining the team as the engagement director, and I work to help just amplify the voices of the curriculum side in education, helping to make sure that our classrooms are secure, but yet have the access to the tools that they need.
And I am Mack Bickle, partner manager for Identity Automation. I work with 3i and their partners to make sure that they have the information that they need to present and position our solution to better serve their customers.
And I am Carter Dunbar. I'm the director of product marketing. I try to figure out how our product best serves the education space and how best to communicate that. So we'll see how that comes across on this.
I'm sure it'll come across fantastic. All right, so to kick off, we're gonna start this with the first bullet on this, which is that C&I and IT have typically been two separate departments and unnecessarily at odds with one another. But it doesn't have to be that way. And you guys are going to talk to us about what that's going to look like in the future and what we should hopefully have this looking like. Let's start. You guys want to start with that first? Okay. So what does that look like in the future moving forward?
Well, I'll start off with just sharing kind of the conflict and what's happening in schools. I have worked in instructional technology in a few different districts, and I've been under the curriculum side, and then I've also predominantly been under the technology side. And looking at the perspective from education is almost like technology is like seen as the tax collectors, right? Like, oh, you're going to prevent us from having fun and enjoying life and doing what we need to do. And then on the curriculum side, that's typically the one that's kind of like the hindrance of letting us be free and really pursuing how we want to create this environment for our classrooms. So sometimes from the district perspective down to the classroom, it's not really seen as cohesive. And because of that, you typically have this conflict of, I want to go off and do my own thing. But what we're running into is obviously this conflict of not working together is problematic for our students. They're running into not having access to what they need. When you don't have technology being part of the conversation, they can't set things up and place things in a way that actually works seamlessly. So you end up running into a million stumbling blocks, which prevent that learning from expanding. And because people are not working together, it's not coming across as well as it could be. So that fantastic lesson that you want to bring into the classroom, you've all of a sudden faced all these obstacles to make it work, as opposed to having everybody work together and providing that easy access to get right into learning. So there's those problems that we're facing, and kind of the perspectives that people have is a problem in education holistically, that our departments do need to work together, and that conversation needs to include all stakeholders.
So you brought up the obstacle piece of this. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those obstacles that you've seen with your background in education? That's a very important background to be able to pull expertise from.
Well, I was a classroom teacher, and then I also worked in instructional technology. So I got to see from both perspectives. And I always found myself being more sympathetic to the classroom teacher and all the things that they have to balance. And oftentimes you'll see kind of from the district perspective, this frustration. I've asked them 10 times to take care of this or this form. And I think the problem that you face in education, and this is why we have a lot of burnout, is that there's a lot of added issues that are placed on teachers' shoulders that are unnecessary often and could be simplified. And because they're having to carry that burden, they often put off what is their primary, and that's students. And that's working with and connecting and relationally with those families in the community. And so they put those things and shelve it, and they have to place this priority on all of our tasks that we push down on them. And because they're having to carry the weight of both, one is going to fail. So either it's going to be districts mad at you, or my students and families are mad at me. And I always just recommend keep the big stuff big and the small stuff small. And when it all boils down to it, we should not be placing all of these different problems on that teacher's shoulders. And I think that's what's the beauty of our product, is that they're simplifying life on all departments to work together and to essentially allow that learning process to happen seamlessly instead of creating unnecessary obstacles. Because in the past, especially in dealing with technology, it's been something that we just jump in head first without really having a process in order. And as great as that is, I love to see the innovation, at the end of the day, because we're jumping in head first without really having a plan, we run across all these problems and added complications on jobs, and in effect really affect the students. They're the ones that suffer at the end of the day. And to be honest, the morale on campus and the frustrations all across the board, just as it becomes divided, as opposed to everybody coming together and working together.
Yeah, Carter, do you want to jump in? I saw you come off of mute. I was going to make a point about that, keeping big things big and small things small. I think it's great.
No, go ahead. I'll circle in after.
No, please, you first. I'm just the knucklehead here hosting.
Well, no, I mean, what Jamie's really touching on is it's a tension and it's a fine line. It's something, Reid, as a cybersecurity expert, you have lived this and experienced it. It is IT's priority is security and protecting the users, the data, the processes, the system.
It's a big task too.
It is. It's a huge task. The instructional sides is convenience. It is, I just need stuff to work. I need to work quickly when I need it so I can just do my job. And there's that balance that has to be struck between security and convenience. The more secure you make something, the less convenient it's going to be. On the flip side, the more convenient you make it, the less secure it's going to be. And so that's really where the tension between the two sides, the heart of it is. Jamie's made this analogy before, which I love. It's really two sides of the same coin. On the IT side, it's work. And on the instructional side, it's weight. So similar to Jamie, I was a high school teacher as well. And I remember when I first got hired, it took 5 days for me to be able to just have an account created so that I could log into a laptop, so I could access any resource or anything like that. On the teacher side, on the instructional side, I'm like, guys, I can't do my job. I do not get to prep for the school year. That means I got to do Saturday and Sunday now if I'm going to be ready for day one, or I'm just going to be unprepared for day one. It was that weight that was the pain for me. On the IT side, they're like, yeah, that's great. We're a district of 400,000 users. So I'm having to take all of the students who moved campuses, who changed grades, who changed courses. We've got to get them everything they need. Also, we have all of the employees. They're the existing employees who maybe changed jobs, changed campuses, new ones that have come on, ones that have left that we've got to take away their access. Mm-hmm. That didn't just happen. And so I didn't have an appreciation for the work that was going into it. And I know that IT appreciated the weight, but their concern was getting through the work, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and I'm sure this problem has gotten less pervasive as everyone's gone to remote learning with COVID, right? That's
everything's gotten easier.
Yeah, everything's gotten super easier now that we've pushed everyone to remote learning and no one's anywhere on campus. And I think this is also one of the reasons, the thoughtfulness of your design goes of the design of your product, and we can jump into that, because I think talking about who you guys are, what you've done, typically where you've been is, I think, on the IT side of the business and the cybersecurity side of the business. But these problems are not going to go away. But there's ways to alleviate them where you can strike a balance between the security side, which cannot be, especially today, especially with everything going remote, it cannot be overlooked. It has to be budgeted for. And the convenience side, where the teachers need access, the students need access, and something as simple as resetting a password now that everybody is remote can't fall back on the IT director, because you got guys like Carter saying, hey, I need access to my laptop. I can't even log in anything yet. Meanwhile, you have 5 students a week emailing people for password resets. It's not a scalable business model. And that's where you guys kind of and this is just one of many examples of why your product is so powerful. But can you talk a little bit about maybe the where you guys came from as far as you being cybersecurity and IT focused and really understanding the transition and what's needed to happen? Jamie, over to you. I saw a finger going.
Yeah, and the only reason why is because I was part of the transition to iPads when they first went out. So this is a good example. When we first bring in these technologies, everything is manual, right? Like I had to touch every iPad. I had to set up that security credentials. I had to set up passwords. I had to set up locks and provisions. I had to set it all up manually. And then as time went on, school districts were overwhelmed. We ended up becoming iPad people, like not instructional technology, but we had to manage iPads all the time. Calendars, getting them, securing them, resetting them, just all the problems that you face within that one iPad, right? Going out to different groups, if you will. So you look at that manual process, and of course, then we start seeing companies come in on the managing those devices. So hey, we can take that load off, right? We're going to go ahead and manage these. You do it from one place. And so the first part of it was, Apple's way and that configuration. So we went through that whole process. Here's a whole cart. I was still doing a lot of it, but it was a little bit easier. It was easier to push it all out at one time. And then it's transitioned then to, hey, now you don't even have to be there with them. It's all going through the network. We push it out immediately. So you see this transition of things changing, adjusting, and helping to alleviate that each touch system. Now, on the other side, I was also the one that inputted all the student data to be able to get into new programs. And I was also the one that was trying to figure out why we had students from 5 years ago that's been gone for 5 years still in our system and still accessing everything. So then nobody's going in and following up because
which is a huge vulnerability, by the way, not to interrupt you, but those types of things like demo accounts that get set up and forgotten about, like silly names. It's like David Hasselhoff at such and such edu. It's like, isn't this funny? It is until somebody spots that on a roll somewhere and goes, that's a dummy account. I bet I can hack into that because they forgot about it. So sorry, not to interrupt you, but it's a really, the legacy access, we got to get ahead of that and figure out a better way to do it.
I know Carter's going to speak on more of what identity automation does, but I'll tell you from the perspective of a district, this is not something that is just needed. This is something that was needed 10 years ago before we started bringing in this kind of technology. So we're really in education holistically, like we're super behind. And this time is not only necessary, but a lot of schools don't even understand that this exists. So it's an exciting time to see that these can all work together.
Yeah, and I think it really is highlighted in our company name. So we are Identity Automation. If we break those two, the first half at identity, we focus on identity and access management as a cybersecurity discipline. So what that means is we understand who all your users are, who they should be, what they should have access to, when they should have access to, and what they shouldn't, so that we can make sure that all of that is locked down in the appropriate ways to where you don't have access to things that you shouldn't. You don't have those dummy accounts that are floating out there. You don't have somebody who left the district 5 years ago that still has access, still has an email account where they can send stuff out representing your district. The security aspect of it lies within the identity and the management of that identity. On the second hand, the automation component, that's where it just absolutely unlocks. It's a cheat code for instruction because we automate. You don't have to think about setting out all your stuff for your students. It's just going to be there for you. You're going to have a 0-day access, which means as soon as I join the organization and as soon as they want me to have access, it's automatically there and I have everything that I need to get started to do my job. And then once I get to the classroom, all of my kids are in my roster, in my virtual classroom, be that whatever LMS they're using, and all of the applications that they need that are associated with my lessons and my assignments are all there. So I can focus on teaching and students can focus on learning. Like that's where really the benefit and the power of it is. But the narrative that has changed over the last year with COVID, because there was that full switch to remote, there's all these different data points. So Reid, you've talked about before, the traditional perimeter is dead in cybersecurity. You can't just put up a wall and say everybody inside the wall is good, everybody outside the wall is bad. People are logging in at any time from anywhere, from any device, and that's okay. But as a security professional, like, that's terrifying.
It's a nightmare.
Right?
Nightmare. Yeah, it's a lot to manage.
You have to manage a single user who may come from their district provided laptop, their district provided iPad, their phone, a computer they may have at home. Like, the only constant in that situation is the identity. And so that's why, from a security standpoint, identity and access management is just crucial to a cybersecurity program. And for your IT staff, being able to automate all of that not only makes it more secure, but it makes your life easier. Like, it lets you go work on more fun things and more high value things.
Yeah. I mean, I look at, and actually to that point about logging in on different devices, since the lockdown, because no one's really been traveling at all, but since the lockdown, I have a tablet I used to travel with all the time, and I've never logged into work using that tablet. But if we start traveling again, once that happens, I'm for sure going to use that to log in. So it's like, where's the flag on that to say, like, hey, is this actually Reid? Like, yeah, like, there's ways to manage those things, like, way more effective where you guys get into. I know that rostering and SSO are a huge piece of this. You have an MFA product as well. That's pretty bar none. Do you want to talk about rostering and SSO, where they fit into the classroom and how they impact and empower, again, that the kind of the yin and yang between that balance of security and access?
Yeah, Jamie, I'll let you take that one.
Okay, thanks. Well, I will say that, the automation, I think, is key. And coming from the side, I have failed in a lot of ways in delivering information, because my role in school districts was to go out and find innovative teaching methods, bring it in through technology, and present that back to the teachers. So even after that, my passion is immersive technology. So I share a lot of augmented and virtual reality, which is a lot of overseas companies. There's different protocol and different expectations in different countries as far as how they house that data. And instead of thinking about that in all, honesty, is that I tell people, go sign your kids up. This is great. You've got to get your kids on. Well, how do we do that? Oh, you just go plug them in and then give them their password, give them their login, give them what they need. Just get them on, right? Like, go do it. And really reflecting on that the past few months, on how my mentality has been and how I have really encouraged a dangerous system in schools. And those teachers are asking their students to take dangerous positions in schools too, because now they're not just using it at school on a network that's controlling where that's going. Now they're potentially using it on their own devices at home on their own network. Like, there are so many more complications with remote learning, but the fact that that has been a mentality in education has shown the disconnect between the two departments, because it isn't that security for our student safety and their data is preventing us from being innovative. It's the fact that the way that we approach that innovation has to make sure, if I'm asking my students to trust me and to go to these sites and to use this technology, I'm equally responsible to keep them safe where I'm asking them to go. Just like I'm asking them to go to YouTube and watch a video, I'm equally responsible to make sure that there's a protection on what video they're watching. So all of those things, I think, need to be working hand in hand, as opposed to, hey, your instruction, you just be innovative and figure it out. Hey, your technology, you just make sure that they're safe and they're not misusing their devices. And really, those two are both responsible.
Yeah, it's interesting, because the same things that have plagued the business world, the siloing, is that a word, siloing? Business operation centers being siloed, security centers being siloed from other parts of the organization. That same thing has been wreaking havoc on the enterprise world for years. And I think the collaborative nature to get all parties involved and take up that charge is something that has to happen if we're going to solve this in a cost-effective and timely manner. That's going to be the least of a heavy lift on the district, and probably the safest for the students and the teachers in the district as well. Carter, I saw you come off mute. You probably want to add something to that.
Yeah, so touching on, exactly the example Jamie just gave is an IT director's nightmare. It is the individual teachers are saying, hey, here's this application, go sign up for this, let's go use that. And it creates, like what we see in the enterprise space, shadow IT. Yep. So there are your district maintained, managed, and governed applications that they have insight into, control over, but they know what's going on, this growing library of hundreds of applications. When that's not able to be delivered in a quick and efficient manner from the wait standpoint, that's when teachers go rogue, because they can't wait. We've just got to get stuff done, and I'm going to make it work. And so rostering is an opportunity for the district to make it quick, seamless, and easy, and go to a teacher and say, okay, what are the applications you guys actually want to use? Teacher says, oh, I want this one. IT can then go look it up and say, okay, that's safe to use. You've got it. Here it is. And 30 minutes later, it's available to them. It's available to the district, but in a controlled and secure manner. It's not, our users are over here, they're using the same password that they have with Active Directory. Oh, that got compromised. Now our network is in trouble. So that's really the value from a rostering perspective. With single sign-on, now you have all of these different applications that are out there that are being used in the classroom. They all have different credentials, their username, their password, maybe it's the email address, maybe it's their personal email, who knows what they're logging in with. The evolution that we've seen with EdTech was we have this proliferation of instructional applications. We need to put them all in one place so people aren't navigating and accidentally going to the wrong place. Maybe they misspelled a U instead of an O and ended up on a porn site. Holy crap, we don't want that. It happens with kids. Maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't. But regardless.
Was it whitehouse.com? Was that the thing was that the story somebody was telling me the other day? No, it was like because it's whitehouse.gov, but whitehouse.com. I don't know if it's still, don't go to the site, whoever's listening or watching this. But somebody was telling me a story in education where it's like some students were typing in whitehouse.com and it wasn't listed. It wasn't delisted from access. And it was actually like a porn site of some kind, but it's supposed to be whitehouse.gov. So to your point, even like the back end of that URL handle can be a little bit of a tricky thing. United actually had United Airlines, they had it was United, and if you switch the T and the or whatever, I can't remember if you spelled it wrong, I think it was UNT, like untied. It went to a site that looked like United but was not United, and they were basically taking your information. It was really pretty wild and very creative the way that some people get around security protocols. But not to interrupt, but to your point, one letter could make all the difference.
Well, yeah, and your user population, think of who you're working with. This is kids from the age of 5 to 18 on top of teachers who are, highly educated folk, but they range anywhere from 23 years old to 70 years old. Like the span of the user types that you're having to manage is crazy, and those types of manual errors absolutely exist. So with rostering, we're simplifying the process of making sure all of your applications have the right people associated with them. And then with single sign-on, it's put it all in one place where people only have to enter credentials one time and they can securely access everything, not go to the wrong places. And from a convenience standpoint, they don't have to memorize 700 different passwords or enter them multiple times.
We all love passwords, right?
All of us.
Again, it's more sarcasm. I absolutely hate passwords. I forget them constantly. So I mean, and I've seen this demoed multiple times. I've been on calls with you guys and like Tim Till, for example, and Tonya looking at demos of this getting set up. It's very straightforward and simple. And this is, again, I think, Mack, over to you. I want to get you involved in this as well from like a sales support perspective on the IT side. I think sometimes when you don't know something, you don't even know where to start. It's kind of like the Everest climb. And, you can climb Everest, and there's a reason there's 4 base camps because you can't do it all in one shot. And I always want to give people the reassurance that they can come to us at 3i, and I'll be happy to, introduce you guys to whomever on the right people, our right stakeholders are on the right teams. But I think it's, this is a very easily solvable thing, but sometimes people might not think it is. So Mack, can you talk a little bit about some of the resources that you've, because I don't want to just filibuster here, but talk about some of the resources that you've brought to meetings, and like Tim and Carter in the past and Kevin and so on. Because again, there's a whole pool of help for you guys should you want to pursue something like this. You don't have to do it all on your own, and that goes for the end user as well as our channel partners where they're trying to set something like this up. We can absolutely help you get this underway because it has to be done. So Matt, can you talk a little bit about the resources we have at our fingertips?
Yeah, and I think it ties into what Jamie and Carter were talking about and how convenience and security mean a lot to these types of organizations, K through 12 higher ed. And what we've found is procurement and how to procure is also a big question mark. And being able to purchase off a certain type of contract, whether it be NASPO, Omnia, NIPA, and through a preferred reseller so that blank school district consolidates their renewals for subscription services like ours through one reseller that knows how to navigate their procurement processes every year. And they don't pay attention because they know that they cross their T's and dot their I's, and it allows them to focus on other tasks that need more focus. So from there, even before we get there, we have all the resources from technical for SEs to go into with the technical IT team and demo that environment. We also have other resources such as Jamie and other members on the team. Carter has even been on these calls to demonstrate from the C&I perspective. And I think what we can do is strike the balance between that with a demo of the product to answer questions that will allow that synergy to happen between those two departments. And then from there, post-purchase, we have all of the resources that they would need and that a partner would need to answer any questions and maybe alter the environment or add something new, as well as we're making tons of strides in the roadmap based off of customer feedback. And it will continue to move more towards that perfect center of a balance between striking what IT wants and what curriculum and instruction want.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, because again, if you're on the IT side of the house, we have resources to be able to answer your questions there. If you're on the instruction side of the house, we have resources to be able to answer your questions there as well. So please don't feel bashful about reaching out. If you would like to do that, you can reach out to us at sales@3itech.com. That's sales, the number 3, EYETECH.com. We'll throw that up on the screen as well so you can see what I just rambled through. Closing comments to you guys. Thank you so much for making time. Again, just any last thoughts before we depart on this topic of empowering IT through instruction, empowering IT and instruction through unification?
I think it really just begins with conversations, bringing those departments together because there's a bottleneck on both sides. And you have the wait time of waiting for technology to accomplish what you've asked for. And then you have IT waiting to be told what is needed, right? And what both sides, without that communication, we're going to run into that stumbling block every time. And in essence, is going to affect our classrooms. So I think really getting started begins with talking about what both parties need and where those common interests are. And, we want to be a part of that conversation with you. And we want to help support that conversation on both sides so that we can help partner those two together and really work for our classrooms.
Awesome. Thank you, Gene.
Yeah, I think we're really at a flashpoint in education as it is in America today. COVID has completely changed how education has been delivered for an entire calendar year. And there's a misperception out there of things are going to go back to normal. It's not. Like, technology is not going to be de-emphasized when there is a return to in-person learning. I also think that what we're going to find and what we're going to see is districts, some of them are already starting to do this, but they're going to give remote options. They're going to give asynchronous options, and that's going to be official options and programs within their specific districts. Like the state of Idaho has the Idaho Digital Learning Academy, which for any public school student in the state of Idaho, they can opt to take any of their courses online in a separate institution where it's asynchronous, it's digital learning as an augment to their traditional curriculum. Like, the innovation that is happening because of this, it's not going to slow down. And so it really behooves education to build it on a solid foundation, which starts with security. And really, the core of the security argument is the identity.
Yeah, all solid points. Mack, any last comments from yourself?
The only thing I would say is that we're trying to make it more user-friendly, and we welcome any and all feedback. So anyone that is watching this or listening to this, I think echoing Jamie's point and Carter's, is the first step is reaching out and looking at what we have to offer. Ask questions, provide feedback, ask why, and just like with learning, we will learn, you will learn, and we'll make it easier altogether.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for making time today to join us for another episode of Beyond the Device. And thank you guys for listening or watching, if you choose to do that as well. Carter Dunbar, Jamie Donally, Mack Bickle from Identity Automation. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at sales@3itech.com. That's sales, the number 3, EYETECH.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out for the next episode of Beyond the Device. We'll see you on the internet. Cheers, guys.
Bye.